And just like that, it's time for our weekly roundup of all the things Lady just ain't gon' do this week. Number 1, Tulsa survivors' claims for reparations are dismissed. Now, the news is still breaking on this one, but word out on the street is that the reparations lawsuit that was filed by Tulsa survivors was dismissed. The lawsuit argued that the damage done from the massacre that occurred in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when a violent white mob attacked a thriving Black community, was a public nuisance deserving of relief and reparations for what was stolen and opportunities that were denied after the theft. Now, the judge thought otherwise, and in the case, he ruled that the massacre was not actually a nuisance. I mean, make it make sense, all right? Now, as more details unfold, we'll be back to discuss this, but let it just be said clearly that this country owes a debt to Black people, that the effects of generations, and I mean generations, of racial terror and racist policies have to be atoned for. And you can do all the contortions you want about this, that was then and this is now, but it's really hard to justify. We coming back to this, I promise you, so stay tuned. Other things Lady ain't gonna do this week is that Ajike Owens' killer is undercharged a la Florida. Now, let me start this off by saying again that organizers in Florida are working really the fuck hard to push back against the onslaught that is racist-ass Florida. And they're up against a tsunami, y'all. So it ain't just DeSantis, okay? Now, when I talk about Florida, I also want to talk about the fight back that people are doing without the resources they need, without the infrastructure they deserve, and with the rest of the country basically writing off Florida as hopeless. Now, don't you dare count Florida out. Because here's the thing, Florida will fuck around and find out when the fascist policies that they institute backfire. And they already are, and they already have. So I had to say that off jump because what I'm about to tell you is that Florida is Florida-ing and undercharged the white lady who killed Ajike Owens, the Black mother we discussed in our last episode. Now, the woman shot Ajike through a closed and locked door while she stood there with her child, asking for an explanation as to why the woman had taken her child's iPad and apparently also called him and his friends Black slaves. Well, prosecutors charged Susan Lawrence with manslaughter and assault, but not second-degree murder because the Stand Your Ground state claims that there was insufficient evidence to prove that Susan Lawrence had a depraved mind towards Ajike Owens at the time of the shooting. Now, let me just talk for a minute about the insufficient evidence, which includes Lawrence hurling racial slurs at the mother and the child before she murdered the mother in front of her child. A history of police being called to mediate disputes between the two women for the same type of behavior over the course of 2 years, with at least one deputy calling the woman batshit crazy. Okay, so we gonna keep bringing you the news you can use on this case, but also you can follow Justice for Ajike Owens on Instagram for up-to-date updates on this case and, more importantly, child, what you can do about it. All right, y'all, that was a lot, but let me give you some more of what we love this week. Number 1, Keke Palmer's roommate fucked around and found out. Okay, so child, the news for this week is that this child that is Keke Palmer's roommate, that she just recently had a baby with, fucked around and found out when he attempted to publicly shame Keke's outfit, and she looked fucking amazing, by the way. He attempted to publicly shame her outfit when pictures of her being serenaded by none other than Usher during his Las Vegas residency floated through the internet streets. Now, we call this man her roommate because seemingly his only claim to fame is being her roommate, and he also is the brother of the polyamorous dude on Insecure. Oh, and then there was the magazine spread about her that she allowed him to be in. Now, not only is Keke Palmer not married to this man, but let me tell you what. The day any dude I'm in any relationship to tries to take a personal issue he got with me to the internet is the day you gon' fuck around and find out, which he did. Now, that man got dragged so bad he had to delete his social media. But because he one of those dudes, he reactivated it and then doubled down on his weak-ass position about fighting for traditional families and not backing down from his morals and standards. Let me tell you something. The only thing that's fighting is the 3 brain cells in his head that this dude got. They fight in a civil war, okay? 3 of them. That's it. That's all there is. Sir, What exactly are these morals and standards? Trying to shame and control the mother of your child on Mark Zuckerberg's internet? You a fucking clown. Pay the rent and please be quiet, okay? Keke is unbothered, honey. Now, she got a t-shirt out called Stevie to the Bullshit, and I highly encourage you to show your love and cop one. You can get it on our website, okay? She gonna need the cash to raise that child on her own because we know how this man gonna parent. So there's that on that. And yes, I said it, okay? I was speechless. Anyways, good on you, Keke. Go on and live your best life, honey, and leave that man in the dust where he belongs. Other things we love this week is that social media gets a much needed upgrade, and we are here for it. So this week, we got a major social media shakeup with the introduction of 2 new platforms, Spill and Threads. Now, Spill is basically like a culture-driven app that has touted itself as a safe space for Black and other marginalized groups. Although there was, of course, a little bit of backtrack on that, but we gonna discuss. I ain't got time to get into it now. And then Threads is basically a better and a new Twitter with like more than 70 million downloads barely a week after it launched. So, admittedly, social media drives me a lot crazy, but here's what I love. Spill is unapologetically Black, and we need a space. Now, I've had a few folks hit me up for invites, like white people, and I've been leaving those on read because y'all need a timeout. You do. Now, what is it about a Black space that activates this what about me gene? I don't know, but I ain't got time. Now, Threads, get on that shit. It's better than Twitter for a bunch of reasons, but I kind of hate promoting anything from Mark Zuckerberg, who refuses to keep us safe on the platforms, But for now, what Lady loves about these new apps is that it's refreshing social media, and it's giving it back to its pre-toxic state. Now, I think we gotta love that while it lasts. Welcome back to Ladies Love Notes, where we give you all of the real about being single and dating in your 40s. Now, last time I promised a special episode on what to do if and when an ex tries to come back into your life, and so you shall receive. You're welcome. Now, here's where we're going to start with this. We done had all these planets in retrograde, okay, including Venus, which as a non-astrology expert, I can simply say that what I gather from this is that Venus in retrograde basically means that your love life be revisiting old shit. And it's a great time to see if you have actually integrated the lessons that you learned. Now, I have a saying that exes are exes for a reason. And what brought up this topic for me is that not only myself, but a few of the homies have been telling me about situations where a romantic relationship that did not succeed for one reason or another came back for another spin around the block. Okay, so what do you do? Is there ever a rational reason to give an ex another chance? Well, the short answer is sure. In theory, there might be a reason. There could be. But it better be a really fucking good reason. I mean, there's a lot of factors to consider in here. How much time has gone by? Was there therapy involved? Or any changed behavior? Like any at all? But also to be considered is, why did y'all break up in the first place? Now, going back to the why is actually really important here. It is so easy to get caught up in the fantasy of it all, child. We get sold these narratives about romance from the movies and shit, but remember, whatever plot they squeezed into a 2-hour movie, most likely if it actually played out like in real time, in real life, it was happening over the span of years, not minutes. And I can tell you this from fucking experience. Look, there was someone I was dealing with that I really enjoyed. Tall, dark, and handsome. Super sweet. And it seemed like we were on the same page. He was coming out of a breakup with his high school sweetheart, those things. And then I was about a year out from my separation, and I was like super clear that I was not available for a relationship. We decided early on that we were gonna keep it easy, like enjoy each other and not put too much pressure on stuff. And it worked well for a while. But I learned in the process that he actually wasn't great at communicating. We would spend time together that was lovely, and then he'd disappear. And when he did return, he would come back around as if no time had passed, nothing had happened. Now, I let him know I couldn't do that. Just like on a basic level, it's a reasonable expectation to just communicate when something's going on for you. And on a more complicated level, I was mending my heart from a dude who literally tried to obliterate it, okay? And he was on some similar bullshit, so I wasn't here for the shits. Now, we would talk about it. He would acknowledge it, apologize, tell me he was going to show me new behavior, but didn't. And after the third kind of this instance, I cut the shit off. I realized that for me, it wasn't working. And it wasn't the simple that I wanted and needed it to be. Now, I was in no emotional state to feel angst over anybody's son who hadn't quite learned to communicate. And I decided I preferred my peace over all of it. So I did what he really should have done and cut it off. Now, we sporadically kept in touch, but it was done. No beef at all, but just, it was finished. And then lo and behold, he starts being in touch again. It starts with a text about a dream he had about him getting a fight with my boyfriend. I don't have a fucking boyfriend, but you already know where this is going. Then it moved to the things that he learned from me, which it was a lot because I gave him some game. Then it moved to his reflections about why our relationship ended and him finally acknowledging the things I'd been saying. Felt like at the time I was saying this shit to a brick wall, but he acknowledged it. And he confessed, ultimately, to being in love with me. Now, you still here? Okay. Well, of course, all of that is enough to make you rethink, right? I mean, here they are, acknowledging the harm, reflecting on the lessons. And I asked his ass directly. I said, what's changed? I mean, this is all lovely. I'm glad you're having all these reflections, but are you still a track star? Are you still doing that thing about reflections with no changed behavior? And he was really honest and said, yes, he was still on the same shit, but he was working on it so that he doesn't hurt people that he loves. Okay. So a few weeks later, these pesky ass light bulbs in my kitchen that are 15 feet high started going out. I texted him a picture of it and he offered to come over and fix it for me, as he'd been doing for the last year. I agreed. We set a time and a date. Now, as soon as he walks in my door, he's hands-on. I miss you. It's good to see you again. All of it, all the things. And of course, things lead to things, but in the moment of truth, before all the shit, he says he can't because he's been celibate since the last time we had sex. And he wants to be clear about his intentions before having sex. Okay, y'all see where we are here? Hands-on for the better part of 2 hours, but you want to be clear about your intentions? Sir. I did get my lights changed, in case you were wondering, but what I did not get was changed behavior. Now, he could have said all this shit to me before coming to my house. He could have kept his own boundaries after actually setting them with me, which he didn't. None of that shit happened until the 11th hour, okay? And that was my thing with him always. I always felt his boundaries, but he never actually spoke them. And it drove me fucking bananas. Who the fuck wants to always have to read between the lines? It's a no for me. I got a lot of fucking work to do, a lot of projects. I don't want to have a project as a partner. So, kindly, I sent him a voicemail asking him to please leave me in peace. It ain't beef. I got mad love for you, and I am cheering you on in all the things in life. But there is not room here for your chaos. I understood clearly in that moment that this was a years-long project, not a 3-month-long project. And actually, he wasn't even doing the work that was going to make it possible for us to be in each other's lives, in any kind of way. So once again, I had to communicate and set the boundary. Now, it was my job to enforce it. I asked for no more texts, no more reflections. I told him there is really not a future for me with someone who can't communicate. And my part in this was setting boundaries and not evenly or actively enforcing them. So that's my shit to do, and I am committed to change behavior. So here we are. And it got me thinking that actually my mantra about exes being exes for a reason is really important. Now, the work it takes for us to actually extricate ourselves from a relationship is hard. And often we don't do it unless it becomes untenable to continue it. Now, I have a soft spot for that boy. I swear I do. And truth be told, he gave me something I really needed at that time. But that moment has passed, and I'm clearer about my new needs. My loves, most likely it's best to go with your first move when it comes to these kinds of situations. You smart. Don't second guess yourself. Keep pursuing your peace no matter what. No changed behavior, no peace. I like that. That was catchy.